Hello and welcome to 123stitch.com. Are you confused about needles for cross stitch? I don't blame you. It's a lot. There are so many different styles and sizes and brands. How do you know which one is right for your project? Today we're going to go through it all. I'm going to show you how to choose just the right needle for your design, how to tell if it's too big or too small, and then I'm going to demonstrate some of the specialty needles that are out there to see if it's something you might want to add to your collection. Before we get started though, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on anything. And everything I mentioned today will be listed as a link in the description below. Okay, let's get started. In cross stitch, we use tapestry needles. And a tapestry needle has a large eye and a blunt tip. We want that large eye so we can fit more than one strand of floss through it. And we want the blunt tip so it goes just through the whole of our fabric and doesn't split the fibers. Tapestry needles can sometimes also be called cross stitch needles. So you know exactly what it's for, but they are tapestry needles. They are blunt tip, large eye. The alternative would be a chenille embroidery sewing needle. They have different names depending on the size, but what they all have in common is that sharp point on the end. The only time I would use this in cross stitch is if I am working on Aida cloth and I have a lot of fractional stitches. With Aida cloth, to do a fractional stitch, you are piercing the fabric thread, and that is much easier to do with a sharp tip needle. You might want to switch out just for the fractional stitches and then go back to your tapestry. If you are just starting out, just look for tapestry cross stitch needle and you can't go wrong. Now we have to talk about sizes. There are 3 basic sizes used in cross stitch: 24, 26, and 28. The largest or the thickest is a size 24, and the thinnest or smallest is a size 28. As a good rule of thumb, you're going to use a size 24 needle if you're stitching on 14 count Aida or a 28 count linen or even weave. You're going to use a size 26 needle if you're stitching on 16 count Aida or a 32 count linen or even weave, and a size 28 needle if you're stitching on an 18 count Aida or a 36 count linen, even weave, or a higher count fabric. I'm going to show you in a bit how you can tell if your needle is too big or too small. But for now, when you're shopping online or in the store, you're going to see tons and tons of needles, and it is confusing. Just focus on tapestry or cross stitch needle and the size of needle that you've chosen for your project. Now I have a good tip for you. You don't have to remember sizes at all. On our website, we have a needle calculator. If you just punch in the type of fabric that you're stitching on, what count of fabric, and how many threads you're stitching over, it will tell you what size needle you should try. So I'm going to have a link for that in the description below, but it's a nice little tool to have handy. Sometimes it helps to have more than one size on hand because no matter what's recommended, you may find that a bigger or smaller needle is going to work for you in your project. So you can buy a package that has multiple sizes in it, or you can just buy multiple packages. Now, there are tons of brands available. There is no huge difference in my mind between them. I use them all. I have just a few of the brands available here. Look for the size and the type of needle. Tapestry, size 24. Don't worry about the brand name so much. You will over time find that you have a preference of one over the other, but any needle will work to start. Now, I'm going to show you next how to tell if your needle is too big or too small. Okay, let me show you how to tell if your needle is too big or too small for a project. I'm going to come up from the bottom, and my needle, it slips right back through to the other side. That means my needle is too small. See how I bring it up and it just falls back through? That means it's too small. So let's do another needle here. Come up from the bottom. To hear that noise, it's pulling really hard through the fabric and it's distorting the hole. You can hear the noise it makes and then it pulls the hole out of shape. So that needle is too big. It's kind of like Goldilocks and the 3 bears. Here on the bottom, the needle stays when I let go of it. It glides through the fabric easily. So this is going to be the right size project. So basically, if your needle drops through too easily, it's too small. So if it was a 26, go with the 24, a little bit bigger. If your needle makes a lot of noise and really pulls through the fabric, if you're using a 24 and it's doing that, then use a 26, a little bit smaller. In this case, I'm using a size 24 needle on my 14 count Aida, and it works just perfectly. So that is good for this project. The next thing I want to show you is these Easy Guide ball tip needles. They have this, they're tapestry needles, but at the very end, they have this little ball at the bottom. And what this is supposed to do is make it easier to find the hole in your fabric. You stitch with the same way you do regular needles, but it's just easier to find the hole with this. Now, I tried this for a long time, and I thought, I worked on my project quite a bit, and I thought, it's not really doing anything. So I switched it out to a regular tapestry needle, and I found that it really was making me find the hole easier, because with the regular tapestry, I was kind of doing a lot of poking and stabbing, whereas with the ball tip, for some reason, it was a lot easier. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, this is the Easy Guide ball tip needle by Sullivan's. I'm working on 28 count even weave fabric. And this is kind of to give you an idea of how this helps you find the hole a little bit better. I'm not in the best stitching position here, so it might not be super easy to see, but I have found stitching with it that it really did make a difference. It's kind of subtle, but it does help you find the hole a little bit faster. So I think it's worth a try. I'm certainly going to use them for a while and see what I think. There we go. Okay, let me show you next a Tapestry Petite needle. Here's an example. This one is by Colonial. The needle itself is about a third of the size of the other regular tapestry needles. They're really short. Some people like these because you can stitch to the very last bit of your thread because there's less turnaround on it. People doing the sewing method probably would like this because it's a little bit easier to turn around or to work from the top side of your fabric with a shorter needle. To me, they're really, really tiny and hard to hold on to, but I think that would be something you could get used to easily. It's just another option, and again, they come in different brands, and it's just a little bitty needle. So that's worth a try as well. Okay, next we're going to talk about John James twin pointed quick stitch needles. They come in the regular cross stitch sizes. What's different about them is the eye is in the middle and there's a point on each end. So you use this with a cross stitch frame, one hand on each side of the fabric, and each side is pulling the needle through to the other side. You're not turning your needle like you normally do when you go underneath. You turn it when you come back up. That way the thread is lying flatter. So let me show you how it works. One hand on each side of the fabric. I'm going straight down and then straight back up again. Up and then straight back down again on the other side of the needle. Not turning the needle at all. I'm just doing a simple up and down motion. So up and then back down, up, down. So what's happening is the thread is just going through straight. It's not turning at all. It's not going to be twisting. So it's going to lay a lot flatter, and potentially you can stitch a lot faster this way. Now you do need a frame because you need a hand on each side, and it takes a little practice to undo what we've learned in regular cross stitch, but it definitely has potential to speed up your stitching and to make your stitches lay a little bit flatter. There we go. I hope that information was helpful, and needles are just a little bit less confusing now. But if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section below. I read and answer all of them, and I love to hear from you. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on anything, and I'll see you again soon.